Hi, welcome to SP 6.1. This is data analysis. We are working with graphs. So different kinds of graphs, line graphs that show, maybe like the growth of a tree, graphs of discrete data, which means maybe it was like the number of students in your class on different days of the week. Discrete data means it's an exact value, and that there was no value in between those two things. It wasn't like on Monday night you had 7.5 students. It was on Monday you had 7 and on Tuesday you had 6. Okay, so discrete data just means that it's an exact value. Like if you scored 7 goals in a game and then 0 goals the next game, from 7 to 0, those are two exact values. There was no time in your life that you scored 5.5 goals in between those two things. So that's what discrete data means. Talking about methods of data collection, such as a questionnaire where you're handing out a pamphlet to someone and asking them to fill in the blanks, doing an experiment, maybe sitting on the side of the street and counting the number of cars that's going by, databases, looking up someone else's data, using electronic media. And then these two words here, interpolation and extrapolation. What this means is, see the word inter, like as in inside? So let's talk about that tree again, the growth of the tree. If on day 1 the tree is here and on day 50 the tree is here, we can estimate that on day 25 it was probably right about there. So we guessed at a value that was inside our data points. That's interpolation. Now extrapolation, similar, we're still estimating. Let's say our company grew this much in year 1 and this much in year 2 and this much in year 3. Could you guess at where it's going to be in year 4? Sure you could. You just extend it beyond, you give it a little extra, and you say, that's my guess for year 4. So interpolation is guessing at values inside 2 points, and extrapolation is guessing beyond the points. Describing patterns in a graph. So using words like increasing, decreasing, staying the same, maybe it's random, maybe it's a straight line, which would be called linear. That's probably one of the words in your vocabulary. Making a line graph from a data table. Make a discrete data point graph from a table. So maybe using a bar graph or something like that. You can put, you can plot points for discrete data. You can say I scored 1 goal, then I scored 3, then I scored 4, then I scored 5. The thing with discrete data though, you can't connect them and say that they're connected because there was no time ever that you scored 4.5 goals. Observing situations relevant to self, well, I just gave you a couple: growth of a tree, growth of a business, money in the bank, goals that you scored, people who like pets. You can graph all kinds of good things in your life. Selecting the best method for collecting your data. Maybe doing your own experiment, record the results, graph the data, and draw some conclusions. Sometimes when you graph things out, it's really interesting what you see. So you might think your diet isn't working because today you were this many pounds and the next day you were less 0.1 and the next day you were less 0.2 and the next day it just doesn't seem like you're going anywhere. But if you actually graph that data out, you can see that you actually are losing weight. So sometimes it's nice to see it on paper. And talking about why you chose the type of graph you did. Sometimes it's better, like using a circle graph is a really good way to show percentages. So you might have different, maybe this is where you spent your allowance. So 50% of your allowance went to socks, and 25% of your allowance went to sunflower seeds, and then the last remaining went to lip gloss because it's my favorite. Okay, so I just chopped this off the internet, but it's really good information if you want to use Excel, which is the program on the computer that most people use for all their charting needs. It's really quite fantastic. So Excel makes spreadsheets, and that's where you can enter data. And so this is what a spreadsheet looks like. It's just numbers down this column and letters going across the x-axis. And so this person entered Caleb's party food chart and said how many people wanted burgers. He is having a huge party, holy moly. 10 people want burgers, 16 want hot dogs, 24 are ordering soda, and 12 want ice cream. Okay, so he's got all that data just quickly popped into those rows. When you use Excel, you don't have to get very fancy in your spreadsheet, unless you really want to. Where you can really get fancy is once you've got that data in there, you highlight that section, and then you go up to the top and you choose what kind of chart you want. So for him, a burger is not a number. A burger is a qualitative value. It's quality, it's not quantity. And so he couldn't put that on a line chart, right? If he had burgers and ice cream here, you wouldn't put that on a line chart. You would say how many people like the burgers and how many people like the ice cream. So he chose the type of chart he wanted. You can get super fancy with all of these things and have crazy colors and whatever, but he just picked the first one, and it gives him a basic chart that shows who likes each one. So now I have... Okay, we'll see if this works. I'm going to open up Excel. Once it opens, we're going to put a few animals in. Okay, and maybe the number of people in your class who like said animal. Only one person likes kittens and 8 people like snakes. How's that? Sounds legit. Once you have all your data entered in your spreadsheet, you just select it and highlight it. Go to Insert and choose the chart that you want. So for this data, I'm going to choose a column chart or a bar chart because cats and goats and kittens, those are not numbers, those are not quantities, so we can't have a quantitative chart. We need a qualitative chart that shows who likes this particular topic. Now once you have your chart finished, you can click on the title, give it a fancy title. You can right click on, so that happened to select all of them, but you could just select one and say, well, I want this one to be goat colored and I want this one to be snake colored. Okay. You can adjust your font over here in your text options. You can have all kinds of fancy text. You can make your chart quite big. You can cut and paste that chart to something like Word if you want to put it in a document. So Excel is a pretty powerful and fun tool for making charts. So I'm going to delete this one, and I'm going to change my goats and whatnot. And I'll say that this is my allowance, and this was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So now I'm going to choose a different kind of chart. I want a line chart because I want to see if my allowance is going up or down or what the deal is. So these kinds of charts show a trend, a growth trend. And we could interpolate or we could extrapolate, and you might predict that maybe on Friday you might get $9 because it seems to be moving on up. You could change the thickness of your line or the color of your line. You can do all kinds of fancy things with that chart. You can insert a picture if you want. You could cut and paste something from the internet and put it over here or make a poster on Word. Lots of goodies. So go play around with Excel. Super fun. Good luck.